I have a question for you. Do you actually love dance training? And I'm going to challenge it if you said you do, but the chances are you don't. All right. So follow through this episode with me. I'm going to break down a couple of reasons why you don't, what you can actually do about it, and the importance of training. Now, this is going to be very obvious for a lot of you, but there's a couple of myths around it. There's some things that you're going to have to readjust in your perception and your mind so you can understand the correlation between you loving dance and also loving training, okay? Because in my opinion, there isn't actually any difference between the two. And that's what's screwing you and robbing you of your future potential and what you could actually do with your dancing. Now, remember, this is not necessarily about becoming a world superstar. This isn't about making you the next Baryshnikov, right? Or in Dirty Dancing 2. This is literally about you personally, you and me. I'm going to work with you right now, and I want you to think about the level that you would like to get to in your dancing, or at least the skill level you would like to have. Forget the idea of social dancing and competition and that sort of thing. And those are important dimensions of dance, and they're important so far as the strategy you would use to approach to actually train in those domains in a way. But fundamentally, you could be a very skilled dancer and just despise training, right? And you could also be a very low-grade dancer in the sense of competition, and you want to get higher and through the ranks, but you find there's a mental block there, and you can't seem to get more out of it for yourself. Now, one of the things I want to caveat against is that this is not necessarily about motivation, all right? So it's not like a rah-rah, you can do it type of thing. This is very intrinsic, it's very internal, it's an important thing that you're going to need to work with and through yourself. But the catalyst for this for me, understanding this type of lesson and the importance of it it was an aha moment, really. So I was looking at across my own experience. So back when I was a young boy, I played every type of sport, right? I did basketball, soccer, baseball, surfing, bodyboarding, snowboarding, of course, skateboarding, AFL, rugby union. And so I played all these sports. I did ballet, jazz, and tap. Very poorly, okay? So I have talent for athleticism, and I think that's important to note. Talent does get you in the door a little bit, but it certainly doesn't excel you to the domains and the top of a specific area. Okay, now art is the same. Some people can just naturally draw, they're really, really good, but then there's a level that they can only get to, and they have to then put in a lot more dedicated time and focus and energy, and that's what's actually going to hurt you, because it's the thinking around that does the damage, right? It's oh my God, to get better, I'm going to have to put in so much time. I have to put in all these things, right? So do you get overwhelmed with the thought of training, right? So you're setting yourself up to fail before you begin, because the thought of doing it is burning you out already. And you're like, I've got these, I've got Netflix I could be doing right now. My biggest competition in the studio, it's not other studios. You know what it is? It's Netflix, right? It's Netflix. Ask yourself this question too. And I'm going to throw a lot of questions out today. It's awareness. And I want you to see, are you just going with the flow? Are you just turning up and expecting things to happen, and other people are supposed to do it for you? Or are you very deliberate in what you do? Are you training as much as you know you should be? What's your answer to that? Okay. Now, I don't like the idea of shooting on yourself. I think it's very important you come at this from a very deliberate, practical point of view, and I'll give you some solutions at the end of this to what you can actually work for and work through. And then the last question for you, do you think you're not motivated? All right. Now, I have a feeling that most people that actually once they get through into wanting to do medals and things, I don't really question motivation as much. What I start to see is more of an internal battle that actually stops the development or stops the pursuit of trying to get better, right? So it's not necessarily the problem showing up. I think that's what happens when you're doing group classes only and you're not into private lessons, you're not into medals, you're not into actually having some goal-orientated outcome, right? So we're not going to deal with that issue today. And this is going to be an overview anyway of some of the other sort of mental frameworks and mental models I think are really important as dancers. And by the way, these are not talked about enough. Okay, it's why I have the podcast. Dance teachers, coaches, look. The biggest problem with us as dance teachers and coaches is your ego can get in the way as a coach. You really care about your student, hopefully, right? Some don't. Some care far more about their own vanity, right? How they look through the others because they're teaching them. And so they push very, very hard on the training, right? Like a kid may be really talented and they push so hard on the parents and the kid to do well. Guess what? Most kids that are really talented dancing, they burn out by 16, 17, 18, and they go nowhere in dancing. They certainly, often the prodigies don't actually go anywhere in life. So they might be gifted in guitar, they might be gifted at art, and they just push so hard to the point that they actually hate what they do, and then it doesn't translate to any other skill anyway in life. And because of that burnout, that pain's there, that association's always there, they don't want to do anything else. They want to try anything else. So you hear about piano child prodigies at 5. I look at that with a bit of cringe. I go, no, like they're going to kill that artistry. But okay, so is the talent worth developing? Yes, but like how does it get developed? And that's where the coaches can really actually detrimentally affect your actual progress as well. So that's important. You got to have the right coach. But even then, they're not the reason that you don't love training, unless they're actually the ones you're training with and they're just like a negative asshole or not a nice person to be with, right? And then that's going to absolutely have a problem, right? A negative impact. So again, we're not looking externally, right? So let me go through this sort of bit by bit. All right, now. These are those questions like, do you hate training, right? Are you overwhelmed? Do you not train enough? And do you want to do more? Next, why? Now, this is where your excuse factory can kick in pretty damn big, okay? So let me just bring this up here. Okay, so look, the problem is it's not the hours in a day, all right? So I think we can both agree you have 24 hours in a day, just like me, all right? Just like the king does, just like Beyonce does, right? You have the time. Okay, I don't know why I mentioned Beyonce, but anyway, there it is in my brain somehow. You have the time. Now, it's how you allocate your time and resources that's important, right? But you don't. It's not I don't have time. Okay, and that's one of the things that people do. It's part of what the rationale for why you might not like training. And we'll get to that in a second. It's not the availability of your studio. All right, that's important. This is not about time on the floor in the studio necessarily. There are other places you can hire, right? But you see how that sort of lends itself to like an excuse. It's not your partner. It is not your partner. It's not your coach, all right? Very important. It's not the parents, unless you're like 12 and maybe a little bit, but I'll get to why these are not valid reasons at all. If you truly love to dance, okay, this is the where we're starting from. Truly love to dance, you should truly love to train, right? Why not? Okay, it's not their reason. It's not their fault. Now, again, we're not talking about the narcissistic coaches who might like end up beating you and like physically making you feel pain and you hating dancing. We're not going to talk about those sort of coaches, right? We're talking about you personally and the reason you might blame other people as a result of your success. And you might do this really unconsciously, right? I hear it a lot in really subtle ways. It's not often said directly to me. In that sense, if someone isn't achieving what they could, but they will find a way, it could be something subtle like, oh, if only you were open on a Wednesday, you know what I mean? It's like, that sounds like a you problem right there, you got 2 legs and you can literally dance anywhere, right? Like now, you could dance and train right now, yeah? So again, you see what you do. Now, it could also be just any other excuse, right? It could be your resources. Fair enough, right? You might not, quote unquote, have the money, all right? But that's going to fuck you. That really will. It isn't about the money. You will find the money. Think about when you wanted to go on a holiday once. You didn't have the money, you booked it, set a date, so I'm going to do this. Then you found the money, right? That's how it works. Now, you don't have to spend that much to dance. You really don't. You can use my YouTube channel and teach yourself, right? The resources now are so vast and unlimited. It is about you and your relationship to actually doing the work and training. Okay. And we're going to make it in a positive way, right? This is going to be a fun thing. Training shouldn't actually be the thing that you despise, right? And it could be your health, right? Fair enough. You might be like, look, I'm overweight. I've got diabetes. I've got high blood pressure, low blood pressure mixed within all the diabetes. And I've got like a heart. I've got 1 lung. I've got half a pancreas. I've got a bit of a liver left, right? Okay, fair enough, right? And there could be valid and reasonable things that could prohibit you from having a lot of energy to do things. But at the same token, who is going to win with that sort of mindset, right? And to what level do you want to go? And this is the things we're going to unpack in a minute. So, if this is ruffling a feather in your mind, that's fucking awesome. Good. I want to poke that a little bit. I want you to be annoyed at me a little bit. I want you to be like, God damn it, Vaughn, but I'm really trying. It's like, good. Yeah. Didn't say you should try more. That's not the idea, right? It's either do it more or not, but find your level, right? This is where we're going to take this. Okay. So really, what are we boiling this down to? Let me just make sure I got the right thing coming on. All right. You. It's all about you, okay? The real thing here is that you haven't taught yourself to love to train. Love it. When I'm looking at my life, one of the things that really fueled me, and this is so good for you all to hear, I'm like, oh, Instagram looking pretty rough right now. I'm just getting my face in there a little bit. Was the inadequacy, right? The inadequacy of, what do you call it? I'll just tell these people, one second, sorry. I'm trying like Instagram Live for the first time. I haven't done this before. Come over to YouTube. This screen sucks. Okay, so there we go. All right. I might give you the channel link, everyone. That might help you. I'll just do or thank you for waiting. I hate doing this in the middle. But again, you learn as you go, don't you? All right. Anyway, my inadequacy fueled me, y'all. The inadequacy, not being good enough, really hating to suck. All right. So sure, went and played AFL, was the highest goal kicker in my team, okay? From like the beginning of the first game, I just smashing goals, okay? Might have been the ballet helping me a little bit with the leaping, which got me to a bit of hot water at an all-boys school. You can imagine that, right? But my results were good because I could do that. Now, training, I didn't like the training. You know, I didn't love it. In fact, I was pretty lazy, you know, but because I was sort of naturally gifted at like athletics and sports, I sort of took advantage of that, right? I didn't have this laser focus. And that's one of the things. You don't have to have this obsessive laser focus, but I loved the ability to turn up and play games on the weekend, right? I really did like that. Now, when I found the things that I really enjoyed doing, and by the way, I got into a talent squad for AFL, right? So they put me in. This is important for dancing because I got put into this talent squad, which was like the best players in my city, all in a team. And from that team, they start to pick people to go play professionally. First training session, someone passed me the ball like so fast and I grabbed it and went, nah. The energy from that, I was like, this is too serious, right? No one's having fun. Like, okay, so the training is intense. I get that, right? That's fine. It shouldn't all be like la-di-da. It's very focused and deliberate at certain levels and intervals. I get that, but I didn't vibe with that, right? And I just started dancing at the same time, and I was like, oh, in the car, my dad was like, "How was your first training?" And I went, oh, should I tell him? I said, look, I don't think I like this. I felt very nervous saying this because I was such a people pleaser back then. And I said, but I think I like this ballroom dancing thing. And I just started doing it. So I wasn't even good at that either. And it's not like I was like, oh, I'm going to be amazing at that. In fact, dancing, I will tell you this now, is something that I really struggled with. And I mean, it's probably of the things that I did that I felt the best at doing from sort of like the beginning, like baseball, snowboarding, surfing, those sorts of things. Even though they were very difficult, I felt like naturally pulled to them. Ballroom dancing was not that thing for me at all. And I look back at my videos, I'm like, Jesus, who let me on the floor? My God. So there is hope for all. That's why I have this podcast. It's like, there's hope, guys, there's hope. Because I know what it takes. But the thing is, I fell in love with dancing, and the training was a very natural consequence of that. Now, I was lucky I had a coach that was very supportive of that, right? So she had to tell me to get out of the studio, right? Because I was there for so long. I would ask her, can I come in over Christmas? Can I come in early? Or I would ask her, or I'd go hire a hall elsewhere. You see what I mean? So this is where it comes back to your excuses. It's not about everything in the external world. You will figure it out if you really want it, okay? And we'll get to that. Keep coming with me. It's very, very important. So now you might ask yourself the question, well, okay, am I really drawn to dancing? Well, the fact is, if you're having lessons and you're turning up and you actually have this feeling in you, and you know this feeling when you love the thing you're doing, you love dancing itself, there is no difference between that and training, right? This is what we're going to unpack, is that specific problem. Why do you have pain around the training, right? Because dancing is dancing, isn't it? So what is it about the training? And it's not actually the dancing training itself. It's what's going on in your mind and what's happened in your past, right? Now, let's look at this. You will magnify the bad and you'll minimize the simple. It is very simple. You get in the car, you go to the studio, you put your shoes on, you start dancing. You get up in your lounge room, you put your shoes on, you start dancing. But why don't you do that if it's so simple and so logical, right? Think about it. Well, very simple. You magnify the bad. Oh my God, it's going to take this time. Traffic, I'm tired, right? What if I don't, what if I don't get enough time on the floor? What if I sweat? Ladies, you're gonna sweat. You're gonna sweat your face off when you dance. I had a girl, she was so goddamn talented. She was always worried about the sweat and the makeup. And I'm like, this is going to destroy her career, her dancing abilities, because she was like, she would stop once she started getting like a trickle of sweat. And I was like, oh my God, no, you want panda eyes. You know what? Don't wear the makeup. Don't wear the war paint. You're fine, right? Come in and wear that on the comp day, get like the what do you call it? Like a paint gun, just like spray that shit on so it doesn't come off, all right? But that's not, see what I'm saying? Like how easy it is? So you're going to sweat. You're going to get your hair stuck on your face. I was a goddamn sprinkler, right? I had multiple shirts every training session, 2 to 3. You ask anyone, I was so sweaty, right? That's what it takes. But the training itself was awesome. But again, if you're making these excuses in your mind, like, oh, like it's just going to be all this effort, and then I'm going to shower again. Like for me, I could have been like, oh, I got to wash 3 shirts. Oh my God, I've got to have 2 dinners now instead of 1. I'm going to have a late night tonight. I'm going to be tired tomorrow. The thing is about that is it compounds and you get fitter over time anyway, right? So yeah, you always need recovery, but you can train harder, longer. You can actually train smarter too. Like there's all these things that happen when you start to get really, really fit that are real beneficial. So it becomes much easier to sustain your training in that regard without having to like destroy yourself every day. Okay. But you got to get through that threshold. Now, you cloak your excuses as reasons, and they could be very valid. All right. So they're some excuses, fine. I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, you can't make no excuses in life. Like sometimes like I can't be bothered. You know what I mean? I could just say it. I can't be fucked. I don't want to train. I don't want to do any more than I'm doing. That's okay, guys. That's totally fine, right? This message is for people who actually know they want to do better and they could do better and they're just not in the studio. Yeah, I'm looking right at you. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? Don't feel bad about it. All right? This is important. Don't feel bad about that feeling. Understand you're robbing your future potential and your future self, and this is why we're unpacking this. What excuses you're using as a reason. Okay? Don't want to spend the money this week. I'll be tired for work tomorrow. All right? Valid. All right? Valid reason, isn't it? Okay? Or is it more of an excuse because you know that if you did it, you'd actually benefit? And so you have to learn in your own mind. It's not what I'm telling you. It's not what I'm saying. It's what you have to decide in your mind, that difference between the two. Okay? And then sort of owning the results of that. Now, you've built up something to be bigger than what it was as something that you have to do versus something you want to do. Okay, say it with me now. I don't have to do anything until I want to. Then I don't have to anymore. Say it again. I don't have to do anything until I want to. Then I don't have to anymore. Got it? Think about that. How powerful is that as a push-pull motivated force, right? Push or pull. So push motivation is when a coach is like, you're not training enough. You're shit. Look at you. You're terrible. Terrible at that competition. Absolutely horrible. You came first, but you danced shit, right? Or you came last and you danced the best you've ever danced, but you came last, right? So look, if you want it, it naturally draws out of you. Now, there's a problem with wants, right? Wants can be linked to desires. To desire is to suffer, right? If you think of it this way in a philosophical bent, anything you want or desire controls you, and then fundamentally, you suffer as a consequence because you never get the thing you actually want. So it's like, damn it. But in the world of skill development, it's very powerful because of the thing you actually want to get better at. What do you want to do? Well, you want to do it, right? And how free-flowing is it when you want to do the thing, okay? So you're like, yeah, I would love to dance more. I would love to turn up. So group class is fun. Private lessons fun. Then the training, not so fun. Why? Because you're telling yourself you have to train. And you may not say those words, but you cloak around those the excuses form the framework of the having to do it. You understand? Just like you have to go to work. Do you? I mean, you do, right, to pay bills, right? But do you have to really? Do you have to go to that work? You just go to another one? Get another job? You know what I'm saying? Like, who put you there? Right? Did someone make you do that? No. So the have to, you got to be real careful what you have to do. I mean, look, I get it. Sometimes you got to have to do like a family thing. I get that. Like sometimes you have to say hello to your family. You know what I mean? I can understand. Right? You're lucky if you love everyone in your family and you want to always want to be around them. But you know what I'm saying, right? So think about it in the context of relationships, right? Why would you want to get married or be with someone that you like have to be around or get married to? You understand? Now, I'm not talking about like arranged marriages and things like that. I'm saying just fundamentally, what sort of attitude is that? Is that a push or a pull, right? Is it going to make you want to do something to a high level, or is that going to really like feel like effort? And again, that links to like the minimizing versus maximizing problem. And your mind is amazing, right? The power of your perception is what we're talking about here fundamentally. This is what we're all looking at here. It's awareness and perception, right? So you're looking at things going, damn, I have to train. Therefore, to train, what's the point? I'm not very good. I'm not really going to get better. Look how much better they are. I'm overweight. I need to lose weight. You know, if I train more, people are going to look at me more, right? My partner or my parents and family are going to want me around more. They're going to start to complain because I have to dance more, or I'm dancing more around the house, which, you know, a good idea. Right? And then so all these reasons that are valid to you, right, which could appear like excuses to me, but they're very real to you, and that's fine, are the things that now add on to this just weight, a fucking anchor, right? Like this have to becomes this sack, a giant burlap sack that you've just stuffed full of weights put on your back, tied it around your neck, and been like, I have to do all this stuff. It's like, you don't really. But if you want to, it's a very, very, very powerful pull. It's like it pulls you into the thing. Okay, who controls that? Do you think? You do. Now, this can be linked to like your goals and outcomes. Like, maybe you're also like expecting too much of yourself, right? Which is a bit of a different issue. We'll talk about later in a different podcast. I have one about like the 5 perfectionistic traits. You should go listen to that. It's a good thing to do, or don't, and suffer with the burlap sack around your neck. Now, here's another thing. You may have some beliefs about who you are at your core that actually prevent you from trying to step up. Think about it like this. We have core beliefs, right? We have belief systems. Now, we're not talking about like religious beliefs here. We're looking at you, okay, and me. We have ways that we interpret the world through our perception. We have beliefs about who we are in relation to the world, and that starts to help formulate identities in our life, right? So one of the things you can look at is like, what's your belief about your potential in dance? That's really, really powerful. Think about it. What's your belief about your potential? I wish I could just jam a needle in your face. I mean, your backside, just be like, bang, instant belief in you. You got no idea what you can do if you just turn up all the time. Just keep turning up. Seriously. And I say that from my perspective because I was so insecure about my dancing. I would be in the studio. I would stop dancing as soon as someone watched me. I'm looking at you, table of like dance mums that kept coming to the same table and like pretending you're talking, like looking at me, and I'm like dancing against the wall. It's like, yeah, this is so uncomfortable right now. Anyway, so that was the main point. I would feel really uncomfortable, generally speaking. It didn't matter who was there. So on my own, I'd be like, okay, a bit looser. Then I felt more, partner would be there. I'd feel more insecure because I needed to be really good, right? Or I felt like I needed to be really good. And then that would prohibit me because I'm thinking I'm not good enough. See, the beliefs were not very helpful for me. But I also had a belief in me that I was like, look, this is my motivation. This feeling of not being adequate, being inadequate is so motivating for me because I don't want to be shit. I want to be less shit. I would like to be good at this shit. I would like to be top shit one day, right? So that's a Australian colloquialism, right? We like to use that word as an expressive form of awesomeness, really. So think about it. What are those beliefs, right? What are they? Those ones that whisper to you because they're there. This awareness inside you is very, very powerful once you get it. Now, I think fundamentally, when you get down to it, there's a core belief that you can sort of trace back to things. It's like a primary core belief of not being good enough. This is thrown around a lot in personal development circles, but it seems to be fairly true from what I can see, at least so far as how you can use it as a way of at least orientating yourself to a better outcome for your training and what you want to do. So think about it. Are you saying to yourself, you're not good enough in some capacity with your self-talk? Okay, so first of all, notice your self-talk. What do you actually say to yourself? You can sort of tell by the way you hold your body. You can sort of tell by the way you do or don't dance within a studio or at home. And then look at that. Does it come back to that? You're not good enough. Well, that's just going to create more of the same actions in your life. So really, it's not, this is why with when it comes to coaching, it really isn't about the strategy, right? Like I've got lots of templates for strategies and things like that. They don't mean anything if you don't believe that you could actually be better. So you could come to me, spend all this money and be like, look, first of all, you're doing all this time with me, but that doesn't make you better, right? Like your input makes it better. You experimenting with the information and finding out, is what I'm saying actually true and real to you? Does it actually work? And doing more of that becomes a habit. That's what you have to do as a dancer. That's the work, right? It's not the coach. Coach cannot make you good. They give you like 50, 60% of the information. And if it's a good coach, the information's the top quality for your level where you need to go to the next level. But they can't get you there, right? 100%. That's you. That's your credit, your responsibility. But it is also your fault if it doesn't work. It's not your coach's. You see the problem with the excuses, right? So you got to look inside and go, okay, these beliefs matter. All right, I can be better. I may not be better right now, and that's okay, right? There's always going to be someone better. That's fine too, and that's great to know because then you sort of keep yourself humble, right? It's part of it's big picture, right? Like to think like this, but I think it's very important for you to know beliefs are going to create the actions. The strategies are very easy to deploy when you've got the right beliefs aligned with where you want to go, because that's what people do. We're trained to sort of look for the result. Like if you want to make money, you start looking at investing straight away, or you start looking at buying real estate. The problem is you can go broke doing that if you don't know that like the tenements of what skills you need over the long period of time to develop to make that money grow, and so you don't lose it, right? So it's like you might luck out, but you don't know why you lucked out. You don't know why you actually won in that real estate deal. It was just good timing for whatever reason, and then you lose all the money because you don't know how to manage it, right? Because that's a skill, you understand? So it takes time, and you got to learn that. But the beliefs fuel that. Now, if you feel you're worthy of it, if you feel you're worthy of being better at dancing, or you have that framework, I think that's going to be a problem, because you actually got to ask yourself, is it worthy of you, right? Your time, your effort, your energy. And if it is, then you are at a space where I think you can grow quite exponentially in your dancing. Now, keep going with me, because I would like to unpack two more things here. When you look at these beliefs and go, okay, these are not the things that are shaping me properly in my life, where did you inherit that belief? Where did it come from? Then you have to say to yourself, according to who do I actually believe this? Because you'll find a lot of these beliefs actually came from, think of it as subtly as this. Somebody just randomly says, you're a good dancer. And you're like, oh, okay, thank you. Okay. Someone with some authority or weight says to you, you're not a very good dancer. What does that do to you, right? And so it happens from childhood. We inherit these belief systems and we never question them, right? I think Bertrand Russell has a great quote about only fools and fanatics believe without questioning, right? So you must always think about, like, why do I think this way? And then according to who? Well, it's according to you. And so then you can realize, man, I picked this up from that person. I can change that. That's a great starting point. Now, there's a second thing here I want to talk about, okay? Limiting decisions. So a limiting decision is something, and you could sort of say it's an excuse, but it's more, this is where it gets very precise. So you might say, okay, so students come in, they show me their routine, and immediately they start saying, yeah, I'm not very good at that dance. Oh, I'm not very good at that step. According to who, right? Bit of a limiting decision, don't you think? You only just learnt it last week. Like, to me, like, my brain sort of, like, steam comes out of my head. I'm like, not anger, but just like my brain burns out because something, it's like the dumbest thing to say in a way, because no shit. Do you know how long it takes to learn that dance, to make it good and all the skills behind it? So, but do you know what that does though? That limiting decision sets a ceiling, like a concrete ceiling you just can't break through. There's a good old fashioned saying, you want to make you want to make the ceiling your new floor, right? That, especially in dancing. So that's when you're sort of elevating, right? Okay, so note if you're saying these limiting decisions. Oh, if only I had a partner. Yeah, if I had a partner, it'd be so much better. You on the surveys saying like partner. Your partner doesn't make you better. God damn it. Now, I understand you need one to partner dance, but they're not how you get better. And I see this a lot with partners dancing. You'll see one want it more than the other. Okay, that can be a bit of an issue, but then one just relying on the other to make the move. It's like, oh my God. But it's not your partner, right? Now, fair enough. If you don't have a coach or a partner, that can be troubling. But again, how much do you want it? Like, learn to love training. Learn to love training on your own. Learn to work through things on your own, right? Learn to see yourself improving, feel it, right? Know it. And that just adds more to the positive loop of like improvement, right? You're like, this is cool. I really enjoy this. I'm starting to improve and I can feel it. What do you think that's going to do for your belief system? It's going to strengthen it, isn't it? This doesn't mean you have a conceited idea of who you are and you don't have any negative emotion about yourself. You don't feel humiliation. You don't feel shame. You don't feel bad, right? That you're not trying to ever remove the emotions here, right? So myself, I used to confuse these things. I used to think like I just should never feel bad. I should always be positive about myself. I should always have only positive beliefs. It's like, no, like emotions are medicine. You need them all, but you just can't be ruled by them, right? You need to know how to regulate things. So for example, if you don't want to go to the studio, okay, and you say to yourself, if I go to the studio, I'm going to be tired tomorrow, limiting decision. Your beliefs are not now going to be reinforced that you're no good at dancing, yeah? And then that's what's going to show up in your results. And all of a sudden you're like, oh man. And then what? Well, the world feeds back that to you, right? Because you don't do better at a competition, for example. You're not placing better. Like, oh, I knew I was bad. It's like, oh, yeah, according to who? According to who? The judges? Are you sure about that? You sure? Because I'm pretty sure that it was when you were umming and ahhing about going into the studio that day and you didn't, and you did that every day, 3 days to a week for like the last 4 years. You know what I mean? So think of all that training you just missed out. Like 3 times 52 or 50 weeks a year, 150 days times 4 is 600. So you're looking at 600 training sessions that you had the opportunity to develop yourself, the opportunity to refuel your beliefs, to encourage yourself, right? Do you see what I'm saying? And so it's so subtle, these things. It's not, so when someone's like, you don't train enough, it's like, this is the part of it. It's the beginning part. Where is it in your self-talk and the limiting decisions you're making that are stopping you, right? And when you start to identify this, it's very freeing, but it's a bit scary because it's like, oh man, like I do that quite a lot. And then it's okay. Like it's okay to not want to do it too. Do you see what I mean? So this is where you got to be very careful on what are your outcomes and measure, align to that. Now, keep going with me. I want to talk to these limiting decisions a little bit more. All right. I don't have enough time. We have the same 24 hours, right? That was our excuse and our decision before. My studio isn't open enough. I want to cover these because I know these are big ones. You can literally dance anywhere. So your home, your park, a garage. I had a couple that they had nowhere to practice, so they would just use a garage. They had to open it up so everyone would see in now. Like how weird I was like, did you feel weird? And they're like, no. But like people would look in from the courtyard and like see us dancing, and they'd cheer up. I'd have wedding couples practice in a park. Like you can just dance literally anywhere. Your body is your body. This is one of the things about practice, right? Practice versus reality. They're the same thing. So you should always move and dance your body with technique, with feeling, with the way you want to show up in the world. Because in your body and brain, you could say time doesn't exist, for example, right? Your body doesn't know the difference between you competing and you training, right? And practice doesn't exist really because your body is always there. So if you're at home versus the studio, the only difference is the level of energy you put into it. And this is very key coming into the end of this, is learning what works for you. Hence why a lot of the strategies I put out is what works for me, but I'm a bit of a crazy bastard. Like when I got into dancing and started to really get into it, I was training so much, 5-6 days a week, 50 weeks a year, for years on end, 5 private lessons a week, competing as much as possible, 10 to 20 times a year, going overseas. I loved it, okay? It's unrealistic for me to say that's your level or you're not good enough, you understand? But I believe you build to that, and my coach didn't push it on me. It's something I brought out of myself. And so that's what I'm trying to pass on to you. Now, the blame game, this is where you lose. It's not up to anyone else, right? No one can make you fall in love with training. You can. What's this? Oh, yeah. I was looking at some of these quick notes. I had to pen these down. I just decided in the gym earlier this afternoon that I'd do this. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk about training. Now, here's one thing I want you to question. If you actually love dance, because when I ask people, like, why do you dance? I love dance. I love it. Okay. And why don't you love to train dancing? All right. And maybe we get rid of that word, but think about it. There's a sort of middle ground. So what's the actual difference between the two? Like write it in the window. What is the difference for you? Because you don't have to agree with anything I'm saying, by the way. What is the actual difference between the two? Seriously. So you do a lesson, you're like sweating, this is great. And then you leave immediately. Well, that's not great. You don't reinforce what you've learned. That doesn't help. Or you don't come early enough to put it back in. Okay, but what is the actual difference? Seriously. And so you might say, well, it's the level of input and energy and time. So when I actually train, I know I'm going to be tired. Like I know I'm going to sweat. I know it's going to be painful because I'm going to dance more than I normally do in a lesson or after a lesson. It's like, that's interesting. Where did you learn that? Maybe school did that to you, right? Like you've learned to study. Study equals pain for most people, doesn't it? Because you have to study, correct? You have to study. What if you wanted to study? What a difference, yeah? What if you actually wanted to train? You know what I mean? And so there's a very different thinking around just even that concept. So you don't have to do anything, right? But if you want to, it's going to make a big, big difference. So if we look at this, this here, learning to love training, that's your goal. When you step into this masterclass, plug time, I have a thing here. Where's my thing? Yay. No, that's the planner. We're not going to the planner. That was strategy. Anyway, oh no, I'm clicking buttons. Anyway, we'll get back on this. If you're learning to love to train is important because you're gonna get a lot of information from me. On my channel, I've got like 400 videos. There's like over 1,000 in the membership area. Q&As every month. But you've got to find that way to be like, man, I can do this. Like I can. I really want to like improve. So how do I do it, Vaughn? Well, we'll get to that at the end. Hold on a second, okay? But I want you to think about dancing is dancing, no matter what. The context matters, sure, okay. But does it? Does it actually? Because if we actually examine what the best do in fields of art, peak performance sport, such as, say, basketball or rowing or snowboarding or any Olympic athlete, if you look at how they do the thing, they might be focused, they have different personalities and different styles. You cannot copy their style, by the way. Oh my God, you can't copy someone's style. They've developed that through what I'm talking about. Do you understand? Like, so they'll tell you I did this and this. Like, you ask Usain Bolt about how he trained. He said he hated it. Watch his documentary, right? He's like, I hate training. I know I'm going to die every day. And you watch him train, he can only do like an hour, 45 minutes an hour. He's smashed himself several times a day. But you go and try and train like that. No, that works for him. He eats chicken nuggets, wins a gold medal at the Olympics. Like, most people can't do that, right? That's him. So for you got to figure that out for you, what actually works. Now, you can get ideas from other people, but how you do it is going to be unique to your way. And then when people ask you, you'll tell them what you did, and it won't work for them as well, right? So there's definitely best practices. I share best practices on the YouTube channel. I'm asking you to figure these things out for yourself, and that's going to make a huge world of difference, especially when you write to me and tell me an update on what you've deployed as a result of this and what it's taken you. You've taken a narrative from school, like I have to study. That actually then translates to I have to work. I have to go here. I have to do that. Catch yourself with those words. I do. Sometimes you have to. I get that. But the want to is like different. Now, I know it can sound a bit weird, like walking around saying like, oh yeah, I want to go see my family. Oh, I want to go to work. But see what it does for you. I want to go train, right? Simplify it though. Don't think about all the stuff you have to do. I have to drive, I have to get my shoes on, I have to do all this. Simplify it in your mind and say, all I gotta do is get my shoes on. That's it. I just go get my shoes on. Seriously, I lie to myself all the time. I mean, the word lie is in belief anyway, right? So if you say a lie often enough, you're gonna believe it. But I'll be like, I'm just checking email. Click. Oh my God. And then bat down the rabbit hole of work. Right? I don't like my massive mountain of stuff I have to do. It overwhelms me, right? If you think about all the stuff you have to do in dancing, overwhelming. So lie to yourself a little bit. Just be like, you know what? Just have to put my shoes on. And if I put my shoes on and I don't feel like doing it, then I won't. No problem. I can do that. Make that agreement. So get the studio, put your shoes on. I'm gonna just roll my ankle. I'm not even gonna dance. Fuck it. I don't want to dance. Why am I here? I could be on the couch. Oh, I'm here. I might as well just like do one step. I'll just do one step. Right? Just one little step. Put some music up, put a little bit of music up. Oh, I like that fucking bang. And then you're in it. And all of a sudden, Mrs. Tired, you got energy. What? That's because you're a massive energy. Your brain is trying to conserve the calories so you don't, it's just an old reptilian thing going on. Just, we're all wired to be tired, right? In that sense, to save our bodies. But isn't it funny how you always feel better after a dance class, right? Like, think about it. All the endorphins are there. Serotonin, everything feels good. Dopamine's out. Bang, I love this. But you're not going to feel that turning up. The brain can't reward you that way, right? So if you know this, you can sort of hack the system a little bit, but it does come back to the decisions you make, the beliefs you have, and then the actions you take. Now, let's bring this in for a little landing. That secret of high performance I'm going to come back to right now. So the best are relaxed when they train, and this is great for you to try. Relax, right? When you see a pro in motion. In fact, in ballroom dancing, something I often say is that we want to use less muscle energy to create more powerful movement using less of the muscle systems, right? So we don't want to like flex all of our muscles and try and move. That's too tight, too tense, and you get exhausted and you can't be free flowing. So with the right structure and technique, like what you learn in the masterclass and things like that, you actually dance more freely. It could be more expressive, can feel the music more, and it's way more positive. Therefore, the training is not as extensive unless you're a crazy bastard like me who enjoys punishing himself to sweat his face off because I just love that feeling at the end. But you don't have to do that. See, training is different for everyone. Now, you do have to push look, if you've got a high goal for yourself, like you want to win a competition, you have to get fit. So for that to happen, there's no way around it. You have to sweat, heart rate up. That's just part of it. Sorry, ladies, makeup's going to sweat off. Get used to it, prepare for it, and then realize that's part of the process, right? Gentlemen, you're going to stink. You need deodorant and perfume and cologne. Like just smell good, okay? You have the shirts, have the towels, because you need to sweat. And you know this. You probably sweat just walking in there anyway, right? All right, so here's the solution. I've got 3 things we're going to talk about here, okay? Let's go. So getting it backwards is the framework. I'll just get onto this. Learn to relax when you train, and the setback is a transformation for new outcomes. This leans in perfectly to the solution, right? So a setback is losing a competition, right? Once that happens, you feel bad. Fair enough, you might have put all that work in and now you feel like shit. Okay, that's all right. The biggest things in life that transform you the most are your setbacks. Just ask me about getting divorced. What? Yes. But the transformation from that, massive, massive. Like, I love myself more. I'm in a much better space. And, you know, like this is, and I'm talking about me personally here, like the relationship to myself. The transformation came from that. Losing dance competitions, right? Losing those, like coming last again and again and again was so embarrassing, right? I was like, I can do better, but I'm not better. Like I wasn't lying to myself. I was like, I know I'm not better, but I want to be. But that kicking of my ass and willingly putting myself in that firing line, my God, why did I do that to myself, right? But the transformations came from those moments. They don't come from the wins. Please understand that. So just recognize putting yourself in those positions is very, very powerful. Look at your own life. Where did some of your biggest breakthroughs come from? Probably heartbreak, right? Like that moment, just I'll never do that again, or I'll set myself up in the future to be a better person, or I will look to this internal work. See, again, not blaming, right? Like I'm not assigning blame, and it's easy to be like a victim. I get that. Like there's a time for that sometimes, but most of the time you got to bring it back to you and say, like, what can I do to improve from this? And those transformations are where your new outcomes actually come from. All right. So don't be afraid of getting your ass kicked. Now, here's your awareness strategy, right? Awareness is what I told you. It's the questions, being aware of why you're doing what you're doing, asking yourself the right questions, noticing your self-chatter. Reframe that in a positive way. So for example, you look at your, like if time's an issue for you and you've got limiting decisions and beliefs around that, you start to reframe that and say, well, okay, let me just do 10 minutes then instead of the hour I'm saying I thought I'd have to do, right? And then do it at home versus the studio. And you might find it hard because getting out of your environment is more important, I think, to actually attaining long-term consistency, because it's too easy in your own environment to relax, especially if you touch the couch. But maybe that's part of your strategy, being aware. I know if I touch that couch when I come home versus going on my computer, it's time for a chicken parmigiana and some TV, because like it's just not going to happen, right? So I know myself in that regard. So that's okay too, isn't it? Sometimes like, don't worry about it. Reframe what you look at things like, okay? So again, this is not about tolerating other people telling you what to do, being mean to you. It's not about reframing them saying, yeah, it's okay if every time I do a step wrong, he hits me or she slaps me or calls me a name or shames me. No, like that's not okay. But you don't reframe that. You reframe like your internal like dialogue about your abilities, right? About where you're going, how good you are. The competition, like, yeah, didn't do very well, did this well, gonna do that better, right? You reframe and go, it's just part of the process. It's how we actually get better, right? Stretch yourself. So absolutely, you have to. I don't care if you're like, I only like to social. You got to put yourself in positions of uncomfortable dancing, where people watch you and you don't like it, where you're getting judged and you don't like it. Maybe you do a competition for the first time or something like that. You don't have to do it for very long, but just why? That is the only time that you will find you put in more work and effort. Think about it in your own life. You'll see it's true. Where do you put the most work in? Is it like the whole year up to an exam, or is it like really building up to the last week or two before it? It's definitely, that week is always going to have more in it, maybe, right, than the whole year in a sense. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like procrastinating here in terms of like the active and passive styles. I'm saying that fundamentally, we know we've got a work project due, a speech to do, something to, a speech at a best man's wedding or something like that. And you might write it, skim it out, you start practicing it closer to the day, right? That's what we do as humans. It's okay. Know that, and then put yourself in those positions. So why? Well, then you start changing your decisions about yourself. Your beliefs start to get fueled. You sort of punch yourself in the beliefs the whole time because you're like turning up even though you don't want to, because you know you're going to be on the floor soon. You know you want to look your best. You go on the floor, you get your ass kicked. Transformation happens as a result because you realize I could have done better. I want to do better. And I'm really proud I did that. And like, that was awesome. It was terrifying. Why did I do that? and then you have all of that dialogue and then you do it again. And that's where the transformation comes. Now, as you do this, be kind to yourself. I've seen more people kill themselves in quitting, like getting out of dancing, by just being they don't need the world to be mean to them. They're mean enough to themselves, right, internally. And so be kind, encourage yourself. It's okay. Like, sort of laugh it off. You don't have to train in an intense manner. It's very personal how you actually train. In terms of like your actual focus level, like that's important. We will discuss all of that later because there's different styles. But you do, turning up is number one, right? A length of time. This is the final solution. So by the way, this is a solution I'm going to give you now. You need to dance every day. Every day. Nod with me. I will dance every day. Good. Now, if you just balked at that idea, you don't love training, right? And so, how long though, right? You see, in your brain, you already magnified it. You see how easy this is to screw yourself. You magnified it. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to be so tired. Or what did you say to yourself? I don't have that time. It's going to be too long. I don't have that time. I didn't say how long you should train for. I just said every day. You're the one who went there, not me, right? So think about it. You magnified the shit out of what I just said. That's what's preventing you. Okay, why don't you just do 5 minutes then, hotshot? That's, I didn't tell you how long. You have to do that. Now, this is important if you actually want to be really good. Do 5-10 minutes. However, on the upside, go way up to 3 to 5 hours a day. Now, I'm not telling you to train for 3 to 5 hours. Listen to what I'm telling you. In between that is going to be a sweet spot for you. Yeah? And if you've got a partner, you're going to have to really figure that one out. And different days will have different sweet spots and different times of days. And you're like, oh, but I work. Great limiting decision there, right? So like figure it out. Do you see what I'm saying? The motivating force, if you want to do it, you will figure out the solution. Or you can make an excuse and just not get better. Like, I don't really care. This is not about me. It's about you. You just have to be aware that this exists. Okay? So as you try this process, start small and expand that. Minimize the output in terms of your mind, like thinking how much you have to actually do. Stand up and start dancing at home. Do 5-10 minutes, right? Do it every day as a habit. Consistently, you start to want to do more anyway, right? That's the beautiful byproduct, but you got to get started. Look, thank you for being here. I've got to get out of here. It's been amazing, and I will catch you on the masterclass. BallroomMastery.tv, my friends. Check it out.